Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I am Afsha Mullah from Sri Siddheshwar Women's College of Engineering, and in this video we are going to learn user defined functions in C, and our main topic would be functions without arguments with easy explanation and some example. Now before we actually begin, let's see what is a function. Function in C or in any programming language is a block of code that performs a specific task. Usually when we write a program or a code, we often see that we use few functions. Those are it that helps us execute our program more efficiently and easily and makes our coding easier and happier. Functions help to reduce code repetition and make programs easy to understand. Now in this video we are going to see user defined functions. Now before I actually begin, let me clear that there are two types of function in C, that is built-in function and user defined function. Built-in functions are the functions which are already defined in that programming language. For example, the input output formatted functions like printf and scanf, like string functions like string length or string copy, concatenation, or any math function. These functions definition, the work they would do is already defined earlier, and this can be used universally by any programmer that is typing or writing a code. User-defined functions are the functions written by the programmer. And here a programmer gets a flexibility to do or perform the task which he wishes to do. There is often a question that why to have user-defined functions when we have built-in functions. User-defined function, as I said earlier, gives us a flexibility to perform a specific task and also helps us to make our own program, to make our own code which can be for a good cause and for learning programming or anything. Now for a few examples of user defined functions are like add, display, welcome. So these are basically defined by user, so you can give any name to it. The types of user-defined functions, there are basically four types: functions without arguments and without return value. It means our function does not passes any argument nor does it return any value. Function with arguments and without return value. Function without arguments and with return value. Functions with arguments and with return value. Now it may be a little bit confusing, but it's simple that there are two things, that passing of argument and returning of value. So these all are mixed with each other and four parts of functions are made. Now in this video we are focusing on functions with our arguments and without return value. Now function without argument, this type of function does not take any input from the main function. The name itself says that we are not taking any arguments or parameters. So whenever we call the function, the user defined function, into the main function, we are not passing any parameters or arguments to perform. So it will basically perform the task which using the fixed values or which user has inputted, like whatever the programmer had defined it will perform that task. The syntax for it is return type, function name, parenthesis and semicolon. Return type basically tells us that what kind of function it is. Either it is returning a value like integer, float, character, or it does not return a value, that is, it is a void function. Function name can be any variable that user wants to give. For example, void display. Parenthesis is basically identity of function because that is where we call a function, and semicolon the end of the statement. For example, void display is our function. So here it says that display is the name of the function and void is its return type. It means our function will not return any value. One program example would be a simple example so that everyone understands it. Now first, if we see, we have declared our function void display. Before our main function we have declared a function. Now this is where we declare that we are going to work on a function named display, which will not return a value and is void. Now in our main function we have called it. Now when our program starts, our control will go to display. Now here display is being called, so it will look for where the display is defined. Now here when we see that after the main function, after the body of main function, display is been defined, void display, and a printf statement is passed that welcome to C programming. Now whenever the user will call the function named display, it will print welcome to C programming as many times as user will call it. If user calls display 10 times, then it will print 10 times. So here our function does not return any value, and here in main function we are not passing any arguments. It is performing the task which it has been defined earlier with a fixed statement. Now as we already saw how it works, I will recall it. From main calls the function, control goes to the display executes the code, and control returns to the main. Now advantages of these kind of functions where we are not passing any argument and with no return value is it is simple and easy to use. We are not passing any argument, so we don't have lots of things that how to do it, what to do it, because it usually becomes difficult when we are passing some arguments. It improves code readability. If we are supposed to print any statement again and again and again, this would be easier to just call function one time or as many times we want and make it presentable and readable. It is useful for fixed operations because as we cannot pass any argument, so it can do some limited operations and fixed operations that would help us. Now this was all about functions, user defined functions, in that functions without arguments and specifically with no return value. Now if we talk about functions without arguments and with return value, that would not change much of it. We are just going to give a return type to our function, that is, as here we have given void, there we would simply give any return type like integer, float, whatever our function will return. And while calling it in a main function, we have to assign a variable. We have to first declare a variable and assign that calling a function to some variable and print it. So I hope this video was clear enough to understand what user defined function and specifically function without argument was. I hope it helped you. Thank you for listening till the end. Happy learning in C programming. Bye bye.